Like, one of my favorite players in the NBA right now is TJ McConnell.
All right, just do it one.
TJ McConnell is like...
like Draymond, but a guard.
Yeah, he's like Draymond as a point guard.
Yeah.
He is. Talking about TJ McConnell, one of my favorite players in the NBA.
TJ, he's like there's certain guys, they check into the game, and it changes the flow of the game.
That's what LeBron James and JJ Redick had to say to start the 4th episode of their Mind the Game podcast. It seems like a very random shout out at first, like why is LeBron James, one of, if not the greatest players of all time, mentioning TJ McConnell as one of his favorite players? Well, this season, and especially as of late, that kind of praise has been due. In fact, this past week, or few weeks, it feels like I can't even escape TJ McConnell. Earlier this month, I was able to see the Pacers play the Thunder in Indianapolis in a game where whenever he was on the court, it just felt like TJ McConnell was the best player on the floor. Granted, Shea and J-Dub were out for the Thunder, but that doesn't change the fact that in a game that featured Chet Holmgren, Tyrese Halliburton, and Pascal Siakam, it was TJ McConnell who was taking over the game. Whether he was setting up open teammates or knifing past the defense for open layups, it just felt like Oklahoma City had no answer for him. And that seems to be a common theme as we look at how teams have defended McConnell, especially lately. Fast forward a couple of days, and the Miami Heat were having the same problem as the Oklahoma City Thunder. TJ McConnell was running circles around them in what was, at the time, the most important game in terms of standings for the Pacers. After the game, I was scrolling through Twitter and saw a tweet from NBA University that simply stated, TJ McConnell, GOAT backup point guard. To which Pacers center Miles Turner responded saying, no lies detected. This tweet got me thinking, who is the best backup point guard or who has had the best backup point guard season? Well, in this video, I'm going to make the case that TJ McConnell did, in fact, just have one of the best seasons from the backup point guard position that the NBA has ever seen, and explain why McConnell is the best backup point guard in the NBA. To understand how TJ McConnell operates, you first have to understand how the Pacers operate as a whole. And the way they operate is by having a fast, up-tempo, 7 seconds or less style of offense. The Pacers posted the second fastest pace in the entire NBA this year, sitting right in between the mighty San Antonio Spurs, who had the third fastest pace, and the championship contender Washington Wizards, who had the fastest pace in the NBA. Okay, maybe just playing fast doesn't directly correlate to being successful, but playing that fast and being a historically efficient offense does bode well for your overall success. The Pacers finished the season shooting 37.4% from 3 as a team, and led the league in shooting inside the arc at 58.8%. Indy also finished with the second highest offensive rating in the entire league, and despite playing as fast as they do and how much they pass the ball possession to possession, they just had the 6th lowest turnover rate in the whole league. Their offense was historic, and no, it is not a stretch to say it was historic, it literally was. They averaged the most assists per game since 1985. They're the first team to score 10,000 points in a season since 1984. The first team to reach 2,500 assists in a season since 1985, and they're the first to reach both of those marks in a single season in NBA history. For an offense to be this good and operate at such a historic level, you have to have bench production, especially in an 82-game season. And the Pacers got plenty of it, led by none other than TJ McConnell. TJ McConnell finished the 23-24 season on a much different note than how he started it. At the beginning of the season, it was up in the air whether McConnell would even be a regular in Indy's rotation, given their surplus of talent that needed rotational minutes, like Tyrese Halliburton, Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nesmith, Buddy Hield and Benedict Mathurin all needing to find a spot in the rotation. This led to Rick Carlisle having to have what he called an emotional conversation with McConnell about his expectations and his role for the upcoming season. It wasn't until around Tyrese Halliburton's injury that McConnell would even see consistent minutes in the rotation, and that is around the time when he started to play the best basketball of his career. Before the All-Star break, TJ McConnell averaged 8.2 points per game, 5.5 assists per game, and 2.6 rebounds per game on 76 shooting splits. And these aren't bad numbers, considering McConnell was thought to be the team's third-string point guard at the beginning of the year. However, there were holes in his games that teams would exploit when matching up, like his three-point shooting. A lot of teams when matching up against McConnell would dare him to shoot, whether it was on ball or off ball. If they were guarding him on ball, they'd give him enough space to where they couldn't drive past him. And where he didn't really want to pull up, if he was off ball, his help defender would sag off and be in a great helping position because they know McConnell isn't the most willing shooter in the NBA. This led to a lot of funky possessions where either TJ McConnell or a teammate sharing the floor would have to take a late contested jumper. As we've already discussed, that's not how Rick Carlisle and the Pacers like to operate their offense. Post All-Star break, however, McConnell averaged 13.8 points per game, 5.5 assists per game, 2.8 rebounds per game on 57, 60, 86 shooting splits. He became insanely efficient, which made him a threat anytime he was on the court. Teams couldn't necessarily defend them how they once did before the All-Star break because he became a much more willing and capable shooter whenever he was on the court. This caused a lot of blow-bys and open layups at the rim, or him getting to his patented fall-away jumper on the baseline, or driving and kicking out to open teammates. One of the reasons teams continued to sag off of McConnell so much is because how much of a threat he is when driving. Teams will exaggerate how much they sag off just in hopes of keeping TJ out of the paint. But it doesn't work. The man is a walking paint touch anytime he is on the court. TJ McConnell is a relentless driver. In fact, he is statistically one of the most prolific drivers in the NBA. Among players that played 40-plus games this year, McConnell is 17th in the NBA in drives per game, while playing significantly less minutes than everyone else at the top of the list. Just slightly ahead of McConnell, you have guys like Anthony Edwards, De'Aaron Fox, and Trae Young, who are all either current or former All-Stars who love to operate with the basketball in their hands. Also just ahead of McConnell, you see Giannis Antetokounmpo and Zion Williamson, who are both thought to be paint beasts and make their money dominating in the paint. McConnell's 13.7 drives per game also puts him ahead of players like Tyrese Maxey, Devin Booker, Paolo Banchero, Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, and Stephen Curry. Now, if we take this list and narrow it down to players that see around the same minutes as McConnell, you'll see McConnell shoot up to first by a wide margin, so it is not hyperbole to say that the man is a walking paint touch. McConnell's style of play of constant paint touches and tough shots around the rim, combined with how fast the Pacers play, make for a very difficult task on defense. Just ask the Miami Heat. McConnell loves operating as the ball handler on either wing. Here he's able to use Tyler Hero's leverage to get an open layup. And Hero actually does a good job of cutting him off baseline, but then gets caught anticipating the screen from Jalen Smith, and McConnell's able to use that to his advantage for 2 free points. Here the Heat get caught in rotations, and McConnell actually passes up an open 3 to get to his spot for the pull-up midi. Once this jump pass is made, Jimmy Butler comes up to tag, and Highsmith and Kevin Love both drop down to cover Obi Toppin on the cut. Off the pass, McConnell already knows what he's doing with the ball, doesn't allow Martin or Butler to cut him off, and pulls up for 2. Here, McConnell uses his speed in transition to catch Caleb Martin off balance while backpedaling, then ducks under him for a scoop layup at the rim. Here, McConnell receives the pass back from Pascal Siakam, then uses the Miles Turner screen to snake through the lane, only to use Miles Turner again to shield off Bam so he can get to his patented fall-away jumper on the baseline. And it might sound jarring to hear patented move and McConnell in the same sentence, but that shot has become automatic for him, and in fact he leads the league in scoring from that area of the court, according to this graphic from Kurt Goldsberry that shows the league leaders in every spot on the court for the 23 and 24 season. Here the Heat try a little 2-3 zone to slow the Pacers down, but off the Miles Turner screen, no one picks up McConnell as he curls around and finds a soft spot in the zone, and that's another easy floater with not much resistance from the defense. Just a minute later, the Heat are back in man, and the ball gets swung to McConnell. He uses another Miles Turner screen to get to his favorite spot on the court, and that's another wide open push shot. Later in the game, McConnell catches his handoff from Ben Shepherd at full speed. This time the help defense is there at the rim, but McConnell's a good enough passer to find the open man, and that's Obi Toppin, a 40% three-point shooter, with a catch-and-shoot three. One possession later, the Pacers come down in the exact same set, only this time McConnell is cut off by Caleb Martin when he receives the handoff. Martin gets caught looking for this Jalen Smith screen, and by the time he looks back, McConnell is cut past him, and that's another open layup. This time, McConnell punishes the Heat off the ball. After this skip pass, he receives the ball back after this perfectly timed cut, and that's a routine reverse layup. It wasn't just the Heat that had problems with TJ McConnell this year. Going back through his film, especially post-All-Star break, it is hard to find plays where McConnell isn't making the right play or hitting tough shots in his spots. It's this decision-making and unstoppable relentlessness to get to the paint that led TJ to be one of the most efficient players this year and have possibly one of the most efficient seasons ever for a backup point guard. According to ESPN's Hollinger metrics, there have only been 9 qualified point guards since 2002 to finish top 10 player efficiency rating while coming off the bench. Antonio Daniels did it in 2004, TJ Ford in 2008, Will Bynum in 2009, Rodrigue Beaubois in 2010, Earl Boykins in 2011, Nate Robinson in 2012, Patty Mills in 2014, Trey Burke in 2018, and lastly, TJ McConnell this season. Of all the players listed, McConnell boasted the highest efficiency, second most games played, and only the 6th most minutes played. That seems to be the common theme when looking at McConnell's stats this year, including his counting stats. This season, McConnell ranked 2nd in total assists, 2nd in total steals, 3rd in field goal percentage, and 11th in total points off the bench despite being 27th in total minutes. McConnell was able to overcome early season adversity, step up big in the midst of injuries, fill the stat sheets, and take over games, all while coming off the bench. And he did it all at a historically efficient level within a historically efficient offense. That's why I believe TJ McConnell just had one of the best seasons ever for a backup point guard, and is the best backup point guard in all of basketball. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more content like this, consider leaving a like and subscribing or following me on Twitter @EtchNBA.